Editing is where the magic happens in podcast production. It's that crucial step that takes your raw recordings, those unfiltered moments of brilliance, laughter, and maybe a few stumbles, and transforms them into polished, professional audio that your listeners will love. Think of it as sculpting. You start with a block of marble, and through careful chiseling, you reveal a beautiful statue. That's what editing does for your podcast. It cleans up the noise, enhances the audio, and creates a seamless listening experience that keeps your audience coming back for more. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty of cleaning and enhancing your audio. First up, background noise. We've all been there. You're recording a fantastic segment, and then there's that annoying hum from the air conditioner, or the distant sound of traffic. It's distracting and can really pull your listeners out of the moment. So, how do you tackle this? Most audio editing software, like Audacity or Adobe Audition, comes equipped with noise reduction tools. Here's a simple trick. Find a section of your recording where there's just that background noise, maybe a silent pause with the hum in the background. Highlight it, apply the noise reduction effect, and let the software analyze it. Poof! That annoying hum is gone, and your voice shines through much clearer. Now let's talk about cutting out mistakes and dead air. This is where you can really tighten up your podcast. Long pauses, filler words like or and repeated phrases can make your content feel sluggish. You want your podcast to be engaging, right? So, zoom in on the waveform in your editing software. You'll be able to spot those unnecessary sections. Just slice them out. It's like trimming the fat off a steak. What's left is lean, mean, and ready to be served. For example, if you struggle to get a sentence out and you try multiple times, don't be afraid to cut those attempts. Your listeners will appreciate the seamless flow. Next on the list is balancing audio levels. If you've got multiple speakers, you want to ensure that everyone sounds equally clear and engaging. This is where using a compressor comes in handy. With a compressor, you can even out those loud and soft parts of your recording. You set a threshold for volume limits and a ratio to control how much to reduce those loud peaks. Imagine you're interviewing a guest who's a bit quieter than you. By applying compression, you can make sure their voice is just as audible, creating a more balanced conversation. Now, let's get into equalization, or EQ. This is where you can really enhance the richness and clarity of your audio. By adjusting the frequency balance, you can make voices sound warmer, clearer, and more engaging. For instance, you might want to boost the lower frequencies to add warmth, reduce the mid-range to avoid harshness, and enhance the higher frequencies for clarity. A little boost around 3 kHz can make a world of difference in how speech sounds. It's like adding a pinch of salt to a dish. It brings out the flavors without overwhelming the main ingredients. Transitions are also key in creating a professional-sounding podcast. You don't want abrupt starts or stops that jolt your listeners. This is where fade-ins and fade-outs come into play. Simply highlight the beginning or end of a section in your editing software and apply the fade-in or fade-out effect. This makes everything flow naturally. For example, using a fade-in at the start of your intro music can set the tone perfectly as it transitions into your episode. And let's not forget about removing plosives and sibilants. Those harsh P and B sounds, or those sharp S sounds, can be incredibly distracting. A de-esser can help reduce sibilants, while EQ adjustments can minimize plosives. If you notice those popping sounds in your recording, consider lowering the frequencies around 100 Hz for plosives and reducing sharpness around 7 kHz for sibilants. It's all about making your audio as pleasant to listen to as possible. If you're working with multiple tracks, syncing them properly is essential. You don't want an interviewer's question overlapping with a guest's response, creating confusion. Make sure everything is aligned so that the conversation flows naturally. It's like a dance. Each speaker has their rhythm, and you want to ensure they're in sync. Amplifying or normalizing audio is another important step. You want to ensure that your podcast meets standard listening levels without causing distortion. Normalizing adjusts the audio to a consistent peak level across the entire track, while amplifying increases the volume by a specified amount. For example, normalizing your audio to 3 dB can help ensure consistent volume without clipping, making it easy for listeners to enjoy your content without fiddling with their volume knobs. Effects can be a double-edged sword. While they can enhance your audio, overusing them can lead to unnatural sounds. A little reverb can add warmth to a solo podcast, but too much can make it sound like you're recording in a cave. It's all about finding that sweet spot where the effects enhance rather than detract from your message. Once you've completed your editing, it's time to export your final audio file. Typically, you'll want to export in MP3 format for streaming or WAV for archiving. A standard bitrate of 128 to 192 kbps for MP3 files strikes a good balance between quality and file size. To wrap it all up, cleaning and enhancing your audio is about more than just making it sound good. It's about creating a professional listening experience that keeps your audience engaged. By following a step-by-step workflow, removing noise, cutting out mistakes, balancing levels, applying EQ, and using effects sparingly, you'll elevate the quality of your podcast episodes. Remember, your listeners deserve the best, and with a little effort in the editing room, you can deliver just that. So, roll up your sleeves, dive into your editing software, and let your podcast shine.